The narcissist's temporary discard represents one of their most psychologically devastating manipulation tactics, operating as calculated emotional abuse disguised as natural relationship fluctuation. This strategic withdrawal serves multiple sinister purposes simultaneously. It punishes perceived infractions, resets power dynamics, creates desperate longing in their victim, and provides cover for exploring other supply sources while maintaining their primary victim in psychological suspension. The temporary nature of these discards distinguishes them from permanent separation, as the narcissist never intends to actually release their victim, but rather to increase their psychological grip through manufactured scarcity and the terror of abandonment. Understanding this tactic exposes the narcissist's cruel calculation behind what victims often mistake for natural relationship struggles or their partner's need for space. The punishment disguised as personal growth. The narcissist deploys temporary discard as punishment for behaviors that threaten their control, establishing boundaries, questioning their narrative, achieving independent success, or simply failing to provide adequate supply on demand. Rather than addressing these perceived transgressions directly, they disappear with vague explanations about needing space to work on themselves, process their feelings, or figure out what they want. This framing positions their abandonment as mature self-reflection rather than cruel manipulation designed to destabilize their victim's sense of security. This disguised punishment creates profound confusion in their victim, who struggles to understand what they did wrong while simultaneously absorbing the message that their behavior was so problematic it necessitated complete withdrawal. The narcissist ensures their victim spends the discard period obsessively analyzing every interaction, desperate to identify and correct the supposed flaw that triggered their partner's departure. This psychological torture achieves the narcissist's goal. Their victim becomes increasingly compliant and fearful of behaviors that might trigger future abandonment. The creation of manufactured scarcity and desperation. The temporary discard exploits fundamental psychological principles of scarcity and intermittent reinforcement to intensify their victim's attachment. By making their presence unpredictable and their affection scarce, the narcissist transforms themselves into a prize their victim desperately pursues rather than a partner their victim might critically evaluate. The victim's brain interprets the narcissist's withdrawal as loss of something valuable, triggering anxiety and desperate attempts to restore the connection regardless of how dysfunctional it was. This manufactured scarcity creates addictive psychological patterns where the victim's entire emotional state depends on the narcissist's availability and approval. During the discard, the victim experiences withdrawal symptoms remarkably similar to substance addiction, obsessive thoughts about the narcissist, inability to focus on other aspects of life, physical anxiety symptoms, and overwhelming compulsion to restore contact. The narcissist understands that this desperate state makes their eventual return feel like salvation rather than resumption of abuse, ensuring their victim welcomes them back with gratitude instead of demanding accountability. The exploration of alternative supply while maintaining backup. The temporary discard provides the narcissist with convenient cover to pursue other romantic interests, explore potential new primary supply sources, or simply enjoy attention from multiple people without their original victim's awareness or interference. They position their absence as personal reflection or space, when actually they're testing whether better options exist while maintaining their original victim in psychological limbo, as insurance against these explorations failing. This dual strategy allows the narcissist to have their cake and eat it too. They gain freedom to pursue new supply while preserving their original victim's availability should those pursuits prove disappointing. Their victim remains psychologically tethered during the discard, unable to truly move forward because the narcissist has left the relationship status ambiguous. Meanwhile, the narcissist operates with complete freedom, secure in the knowledge that their victim is too destabilized and hopeful to establish genuine boundaries or pursue other relationships. The power reset through manufactured reconciliation. The narcissist's eventual return from temporary discard serves as a calculated power reset that erases any progress their victim might have made toward independence or boundary establishment. They time their return strategically, often just as their victim begins healing or when their alternative supply pursuits have proven unsatisfying. The reunion feels like answered prayers to their victim, who has spent the discard period in psychological agony and desperate longing. This manufactured reconciliation allows the narcissist to rewrite history and reset relationship dynamics entirely in their favor. Their victim, overwhelmed with relief at their return, accepts vague explanations about the absence, agrees to impossible promises about never triggering future withdrawals, and surrenders boundaries they had been building. The narcissist leverages their victim's fear of another discard to extract compliance, concessions, and renewed devotion that exceeds even their pre-discard control. The temporary discard's ultimate cruelty lies in its cyclical nature. It's never a one-time event, but rather a recurring pattern that trains the victim into smaller and smaller psychological boxes. Each cycle of abandonment and return increases the victim's anxiety, erodes their self-worth, and deepens their conviction that they must perfect their behavior to prevent future withdrawals. The narcissist transforms their victim into someone who will tolerate anything to avoid the psychological torture of abandonment, using the temporary discard as a leash that grows shorter with each iteration until their victim exists in a constant state of walking on eggshells, their entire life organized around preventing the next devastating withdrawal that they now know with terrible certainty is always just one perceived transgression away.